Hope you're all having a good Wednesday. All right, looks like we're back in business. Let's go on to our next slide. We have our Reliability in the West in discussion series that will be held on August. Sorry, now my notes have disappeared. On August 6th, that's from 11 a.m. to noon. The topic is power system safety shutoffs, and we hope that you will join us for that call. And we will drop the link to that calendar invite in the chat. We also want to make you aware of a couple of NERC-based webinars that are happening. The first is on July 21st from 10:30 to 11:30 Mountain, and this is in relation to the Modernization of Standards, Processes, and Procedures Task Force, shorter but not significantly known as the MSPTF. And then we will also be hosting our own webinar related to this effort on August 7th, and that will be from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Mountain. So be sure to get those on your calendar. We'd love to see you there. Next slide. We have our Power System Security Conference, and that will be on August 12th, 13th, and 14th. This is a great conference about about physical security and cybersecurity and how to protect our grid. Be sure to register for that. We'd love to see you at our Salt Lake City office for that workshop. Also at our Salt Lake City office will be our Grid Fundamentals course, and that will be August 19th and 20th. And we'd love to see you there as well. And Megan is dropping links to all those items in the chat as we're going. Also, we have a number of announcements today. We have GridX, which happens every 2 years. This one will be held November 18th and 19th. The registration information is available to you, and it is the largest grid security exercise in North America. So there's something really awesome for you to participate in, and go ahead and check that out. There are ways for you to participate. There's the standard scenario, there's GridX in a box, there's tabletop scenarios. So be sure to check that out and figure out what would work best for you. We also are announcing that GridSecCon is happening October 7th through the 10th. That will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we would love to have you come attend that as well. And there is a QR code there for you to follow to get to the registration information for that. Next slide. It's my pleasure to announce that registration is now open for our fall workshop. This will be October 14th and 15th in San Diego, California. WECC will be on the following day, October 16th. And we're excited to have this open and ready for you to register. And we will drop the information for that registration in the chat. Next slide. This is our antitrust policy. All WECC meetings are conducted in accordance with the WECC antitrust policy and the NERC antitrust compliance guidelines. All participants must comply with the policy and guidelines. This meeting is public. Confidential or proprietary information should not be discussed in open session. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted publicly. By participating, you give your consent for your name, voice, image, and likeness to be included in that recording. WECC strives to ensure the information presented today is accurate and reflects the views of WECC. However, all interpretations and positions are subject to change. If you have any questions, please contact WECC's legal counsel. We love for you to participate in these calls, so feel free to use the chat feature or to raise your hand and we will call on you to ask your question aloud. Let's move on to the agenda. We have a full slate for you today, and I won't read this off for you, but we'll go ahead and pass the time on to Fahad.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Meili. I'm Fahad Ansari, Senior Technical Advisor in the Oversight Planning Group. I'll be quickly going through the significant highlights from NERC and WECC from recent weeks. Next slide. Very quickly, recently effective standards, the standards related to the project 2021-06 have recently become from July 1st effective. the IRO 10-5 reliability coordinator data and information specification collection, and TOP 3-6.1, formerly called as operational reliability data, and now titled as transmission operator and balancing authority data and information specification collection. The next item, ERO enterprise risk factors and risk categories have now been uploaded on our website. These are the current list of risk factors and risk categories and associated reliability standards. The list of common risk factors and assessment criteria are used by the regions to complete the inherent risk assessment, the IRA, for a registered entity, and risk categories that are listed in the Compliance Oversight Plan report. Those indicate the unmitigated and operational risks identified by the region, along with the reliability standards listed in the Appendix B of the report. Both are based on the entity's inherent risks and performance of the operational risks. We also have recently the events analysis sharing a new lesson learned. Lessons learned document are a resource enabling industry to identify problems, find what works, document the process, and share that with the industry. The creation of a lessons learned document is a collaborative effort between NERC, the regional entities, and the registered entities. The latest document shares the lessons learned related to a communication failure between control centers that caused several entities to experience loss of monitoring and control. It's a very interesting read that a lot of registered entities can benefit from. Recently, earlier this week, NERC webinar for registration process for Category 2 GL and GOP was held. This webinar was designed to focus on the registration process for the Category 2 GL GOPs, including the new functionality in the course, an update on the IBR initiative, milestones and resources, and an overview of EISAC. This webinar should soon be posted on our website, and we should be seeing an announcement go out. This webinar was posted on July 14th, so I would say within a few next days, we should be seeing that announcement. And lastly, related to level 3 alert, here's a quick reminder that if you are registered as a transmission owner, transmission planner, planning coordinator, or generator owner, then please make sure to report on the essential actions by August 18th. That is pretty much it from my end, Ailey. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Fahad. I'm not seeing any questions at this time. We can go ahead and pass the time on to Curtis.
Good afternoon. This one will be real short. I know there's been one update recently on the SGAS, the small group advisory sessions for EOP 12-3. The registration has been extended to July 31st for the one-on-one sessions. I think this is a great opportunity for entities to sit down with a cross-regional group of people to discuss issues and be in a great environment to hear stories and things that may happen behind the scenes associated with EOP 12-3. I highly encourage you to sign up for some of these, because I think the more we get to talk about EOP 12-3 in a non-audit environment, the better off we all are. I know I'm representing WECC along with several other people in the SGAS, and we are currently reviewing slides for the August 18th general session. But if you have additional questions you want to get included, please don't hesitate to send them to me. I know the registration talked about sending them Derek, Casimir at NERC, but I'll certainly field any that are needed and try to incorporate them in the SGAS. But I think that's it for the cold weather at this point, and look forward to talking to you next month.
Thank you, Curtis. Let's go ahead and move on.
All right, thanks. My name is Donovan Crane. I'm senior engineer here in the standards department, and we've got a few NERC and WECC standards updates, as well as a little information on the WECC standards committee. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so when it comes to NERC standards happenings, we've got the Order 901. This is constantly out there with the related projects. These are going to go out for ballot and comment for their period 2. This has been moved around. It was anticipated in August. The date that we have now for their anticipated going out for ballot and comment for that, the second one, is August 8th. This will be a full 30 days comment and ballot period that they want to have done. Right now, the teams for the different projects, they're working on industry outreach right now. They're hopeful that they'll be able to get this done in 2 comment ballot periods with that big industry outreach to still fulfill the FERC orders. So this is the newest date as of, we just had the Project Management Oversight Subcommittee and the NERC Standards Committee meetings, and this was the date that we were given for the projected postings of these projects. So August 8th is when these will be going out as of right now. We've also got the 2023-06, the SIT 14 Risk Assessment Refinement, Draft 3. That ballot period ends on the 21st of this month. It's currently open. So if you have not yet participated in that or plan to, it is open through the 21st. We also still have the drafting team nominations open for Project 2023-07, and those are open until the end of the day today, I believe. So that's just wrapping up. They'll be getting those nominations and presenting that to the SC to augment those teams. So if you still are interested, you have a couple hours to nominate for that project. And then it was touched on a little bit earlier with the modernization of standards, processes, and procedures task force. There's that industry briefing, July 21st, and then that will be going out, anticipated for a 30-day comment period on the paper that they will have. So attend this one or the WECC specific one. These webinars get information, and then they'll be looking for comments on what they have written so far. Excuse me, so far. Next slide. So when it comes to WECC standards happenings, we have the WECC 157. This is still out there. This is a reminder. The drafting team solicitation is open through the 18th or tomorrow. So we have quite a few that have put in their nominations. If you still are interested, please go ahead and submit your nomination. That is open through 6 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. For the WECC 142, the request to retire the BAL2 WECC 3 contingency reserve standard. This was filed. This is an update. This says filing with NERC this week. This has been filed with NERC. And so now we are waiting for them to post for their 45-day comment period. As an aside on this one, this is not another bite at the apple to comment on the project itself. You know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Should there be changes? This NERC 45-day posting is a procedural process related posting, and the questions are related to was the process followed? Was this done according to the procedures that have been agreed on? So we're looking for that for the 45-day posting from NERC, and then after that, it'll be targeted to take it to their board, the meetings, and move on to FERC after that. But as we currently stand, this has been filed and is awaiting that 45-day comment period from NERC. The other update that we have is for the WECC Standards Committee. There are several segments, several seats that will be coming open at the close of the WECC annual meeting. The segments, as you can see on the screen, are 1, 4, 7, 8, and 9. And as it stands right now, 3, 7, and 8 are vacant. Those vacancies happen because of either retirements or company changes. And so there are several that are vacant as of right now, but the top 1, 4, 7, 8, and 9 will be coming open at the end of the WECC annual meeting in September. If it's interested, please fill out a drafting team nomination form that's found on the Standards Under Development page at WECC.org. And to do that, you can choose when it says what project you're trying to nominate for. It will be the WECC 0000 Standards Committee. I'm also going to put, for convenience, in the chat, there's a link to that form, so you don't have to dig that around, but if you follow that link, that is the nomination form if you wish to throw your hat in the ring for any of the drafting teams or for the WSC. And speaking of the WECC Standards Committee, or the WSC, I was asked to give kind of a little overview of what that is, what it does, why they're there, and then how maybe to get involved with that. We have several presentations that have floated around for some different groups, so we thought we'd condense it and bring it to this group as well, just for an informational purpose on what that is. So if we can move to the next slide. We're going to talk about the WECC Standards Committee, what it does, what it does not do, and potential ways to get involved. So just as a really high level, overall, they guide and they oversee the standards development process. They are the ones that the drafting teams report up to. They're the ones that approve going out for balloting, taking this, approving it to go to the board, approving filings at NERC. But overall, it's these four: the standards, the variances criteria out here, the reliability standards regional, the variances inside of the NERC standards that we have for the WECC region, as well as the WECC criteria, are all overseen process-wise by the WSC. They oversee the commenting on the projects, the balloting of it, and then finally the filing of it. And they're very process and procedure focused. It's not a committee where they talk about the technical justifications or the technical merits of what is happening in the projects, but making sure that they are followed, that the process and procedures are followed based off of what we have agreed to with NERC and FERC. Next slide, please. So the big question, the first one, is what does the Standards Committee do? Well, each member, when you come on, you serve a 2-year term with no limit on terms. You can come on, and as long as you want to keep re-upping or putting your hat in the ring, you can continue on as many terms as you are either elected or accepted. 5 segments are renewed every single year. So there are 10 segments total. We'll talk about those at the end of the slide that we have, but there are 5 segments that are renewed every year. So half of the WSC is up for renewal every other year. We don't have an atomic, all 10 go out every single year. So that keeps continuity, but we do have a renewal every year. And so the WSC prioritizes the work and sets the starting date for drafting projects. We bring the SARs after they've been vetted to the WSC. They accept the SARs, they accept sending out for a drafting team, and they set when the projects will be starting and a general schedule of what we hope to accomplish. And then the WSC after that either directly assigns, if necessary, or approves the solicitation of drafting team member nominations. So we'll go out and we get the permission to solicit the drafting team after the project has been approved and accepted. The SAR is ready to go. We go out and we get the drafting team members. We bring that slate back to the WSC as an approval item for them, that they can then agree to that and seat the drafting team members. At any time, they can also augment or modify or replace drafting team members as we need. So if we had a project that was lasting several years, we could, and people had to retire or jobs changed, we could modify it, we could augment it, or in the middle of a project, say that we find that we need a little bit more expertise from some drafting team members that we don't quite have, we can ask the WSC to go out and solicit another augmentation of that team. So they are the ones that oversee the team makeup. Once it's set, it is in the purview of the WSC to adjust that team. The WECC staff cannot wholesale go in and place someone on a team or take someone off a team. We have to work with the WSC to get that approved procedurally. And then once the team does its work, the drafting teams, they go out, they do their work, they draft the projects, and then they come back and they get authorization for balloting of the drafting team's work. They bring that to the WSC, they show the work that they've done, they show the comment periods and how this is now at a place that we need to get the industry approval and an opinion on that through ballot. So the WSC will authorize that procedurally as well. And then at the end of that, the WSC approves forwarding final documents, final work products from these drafting projects to the WECC board for approval. It's passed through them to make sure that everything was followed the way it should have been, procedures, processes, everything was open and transparent, the way that standards needs to be. And once they find that that is accurate and that has been done the right way, then they can forward that to the WECC board for their final approval. Next slide, please. With that, this is a fun, really short slide. What does the WECC Standards Committee not do? What do they, what is it does not? The first thing is they don't write the standards. I know if you're not familiar with the standards process, or you haven't participated, or you come from different industries where there's different process or procedure, the WSC, and I'll throw in their WECC staff as well, does not write the standards. This is drafting teams, the involved stakeholders that are part of drafting teams that come and observe and participate. That is how the standards criteria variances are written. And also, hand in hand with that, they do not approve the standards. They make sure that the process was followed, but the approval of the standards comes from, again, putting it out to ballot with industry. So the Standards Committee does not write and approve standards. It's involved stakeholders draft and approve through balloting and voting the standards. We try to throw this in there quite a bit because if you're not familiar, it can be kind of one of those, you hear maybe, you just don't know what the process is, but this is not what they do. This is all in industry that participates to do that. Next slide. So how to get involved. I'd mentioned that there is openings every year for the different segments. And currently we have several segments open. We have the 5 that will be open as well as 1 that is vacant because of someone left. So the ones highlighted in green, these are the 10 segments that you can see on the left, 1 through 10, and also the current representative as it sits and the company that they are from. The ones highlighted in green are the segments that are coming up for either renewal and we're looking for nominations for that. Segment 3, you can see highlighted in yellow, is currently vacant. We are looking to fill that as well, but that term will begin as soon as it's filled. That doesn't start at the beginning of the annual, at the end of the annual meeting, but its term will only be 1 year at this point because it will be up for renewal in 2026. So segment 3 will be opened up. The standard voting segment 3 will be opened up anytime here. We can have that seated with this next round, but it will be up for renewal again in 26. The remaining 5 that we see here in green, they will begin their 2-year term of service at the close of the 2025 WECC annual meeting, and that will end at the close of the 2027 WECC annual meeting. So there's this, if you're looking at a way to get involved, if you're interested on serving on that, participating from the overseeing the procedure process standpoint, there's many opportunities. There's different segments you can join depending on where your company falls. You can submit those nominations, like I said, through the form that I linked in the chat, or just go to the Standards Under Development page on WECC.org, and it's the drafting team nomination form button at the top of that page. So one of the things that we've been trying to talk about whenever we get the chance is how to get involved. So we've seen that there's drafting team positions that are open. You can always attend drafting team meetings if you want as an observer. Always open for public comment. All of those meetings are open and you can bring your expertise without having to officially sit on the drafting team. Or you can join the WSC. You can go up on this, register and nominate. For this, I will throw out as well, if there are multiple candidates for a segment, then that will be balloted. We will ask members of that segment to vote to seat their representative. If we receive only 1 nomination for any given segment, the procedures state that we can forego that ballot and that 1 nomination at the end of the meeting will be seated. So if there's questions, comments on that, please reach out. You can email standards@wec.org. You can email me. We can reach out in different ways. If there's questions on expectations of this, the charter, what the time commitment would be, but there's multiple different ways to get involved, and we just happen to be in one right now. Where we are soliciting drafting team members and WECC Standards Committee representatives. So lots of opportunity to get involved. We'd love to see it. Love to see, it's always fun to see fresh faces come onto this. We have people that serve, that have been on this for a while, but you don't have to be a technical expert either on this. I guess before I close on that, this one, it's process and procedure. So bringing that expertise, the knowledge of your segment, being able to represent that segment is what we're looking for. knowledge of the processes, being familiar with that is always a plus, but you don't have to be a 30-year technical veteran in the field to be able to participate in any way, actually, but especially on the WSC, that's not one of the requirements for that. But with that, I believe that is my last slide talking about this. Again, please reach out if there's comments or questions on expectations, what it would take to get involved. I'm always looking for that, happy to answer questions. But with that, I'll give it back to Maylee.
I have a question for you.
Aha.
It says, with segment 3 vacancy and there not being any NERC standards that are applicable to an LSE, would there be a look to rename this segment to get it associated to a NERC registered entity type?
That is a great question, and actually leads into a good statement of why do we have these as our segments, the standard voting segment here. When we set up the procedures at WECC, we tried to follow as close as we could to NERC. One, that was already accepted by FERC. They'd already said this is a good process and procedure for standards development. And we figured if we stayed as close to that with tweaks as necessary, then it would be easier to get that to go through. But also, one of the ways that we have it is we, in our procedures, state that our standard voting segments will mirror exactly what NERC has. So we don't actually name these or decide what they are. Our procedures just state whatever NERC's standard voting segments are, we have the same ones. So if NERC changes it, which for that question, if there was a desire to change segment 3's name, tie that to a more applicable or functional entity, that would be a NERC. That would be in their ballpark to do that. And if they did end up changing, it would automatically change for us out here. But the reason we have these segments is because they are exactly what NERC has, and we just mirror that in our SVS.
Is there any action they could take to get NERC to make that change?
This could be under, I know they are considering this as potential parts of that modernization of standards process and procedure task force. They're looking at all aspects of that. That would probably be where they're looking at it right now. Or another way to get that kicked off is having conversations with the NERC SC or NERC standards, potentially submitting a SAR in that, on saying that would be a standards process manual change of rules of procedure change at this point, as those documents are housed under NERC and state these are the segments. So there's a couple ways that conversation could get started, but immediately I think that modernization of standards process and procedure task force, they would be the most likely ones to address this right now. And I do believe that there were suggestions in their open comment period recently in that survey that did have similar suggestions on updating these segments.
All right, one more question for you. How can entities ask for revisions to regional WECC standards?
Perfect. The SAR form. So on our website, we have the standards authorization request. There's two buttons. One of them is a SAR request form. You can download that. You can fill it out. You can work on that. And then you click the other one that's the draft SAR request, and that will open up a form that you fill out. You would select that it would be a change to a regional standard. You'd fill out the SAR. That gets submitted to WECC staff. We vet it to make sure it's complete, ready to go. And then we take that to the WSC. They look at it and they can authorize that as a project if it's in our purview to do. So if there is a desire to change WECC regional standards, the SAR form on the WECC standards under development page is the route to take. And if you do have a question with that, please reach out to me as well. We can talk about if that falls within a current project, if that falls within things that are happening right now, and also help filling out that SAR. We can make sure that will be as smooth as possible. So if you are looking at doing that, please reach out to me. I can give you as much information as you could possibly want on that, that we probably won't go over today, but that would be how you do it. It's just the same process as through a standards authorization request.
Thank you so much, Donovan. I think that's it for the questions for you for now. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll turn it over to our IBR team.
Thank you, Maylee. Can everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you great, Abby.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So my name is Abby Fellinger, and I'm one of the registration certification engineers here at WECC, and I'm going to lead the conversation today. So thank you for joining us. Next slide, please. So for the agenda today, we are going to concentrate on the registration process for Category 2s. As many of you know, NERC hosted an ERO Enterprise webinar earlier this week, which focused on the upcoming registration process for Category 2 GO and GOP IBRs. Just in case you didn't get a chance to listen in, we thought it would be best to kind of give you a summarized version of the main talking points, and just to make sure that you're aware of the recent resources that have been published. So as a result, we're going to talk about the status of WECC's evaluation reviews, the updates that have been made in cores to allow entities to submit Category 2 GO/GOP registration requests, when entities will receive their NERC Category 2 registration letters, as well as when an entity will be listed on the NERC Compliance Registry as a Category 2, and again, the new resources that are available to you. So next slide. So recently, CORS has been updated to reflect both Category 1 and Category 2 options for the GO and GOP function types. For those of you that are familiar with the registration process and the CORS application, you're going to notice that the process really hasn't changed much. The main difference here is under the entity scope section is an addition of the Category 1 and the Category 2 options. And also, you'll kind of notice here that the initial sync date, that was there prior to the enhancement. However, it was not a required field until recently. So that's something to be mindful of. So as shown on the screen, you're going to enter either the GO or the GOP function in this instance, as well as the May 15th, 2026 effective date. And so this is applying to Category 2 entities that are already optional. So it's going to be that future date of May 15th, 2026. In our case, you're going to put WECC as the region, US as the jurisdiction, and you can also make notes as needed regarding the asset. And again, you're going to need to enter your initial sync date. And if you're not aware of what that exact date is, you can, supply an approximate date of when you thought that you reached that sync date. One thing I do want to mention is that CORS, even though we have the Category 1 and the Category 2 GOPs in our system, the registration system, this information has not been rolled over to Align yet. So if you are an existing entity, you're only going to see your registered functions as you are used to, which is your GO and your GOP. There are technical issues where they can't have that in the line yet, so it may be months before that's available. So that's just something to be aware of, that's coming in the future. Next slide. So NERC and the regions have launched a soft release this month in order to ensure both new and existing entities will have a good experience while they're going through the Category 2 registration process. WECC has met with one of our existing entities this week, and we successfully walked them through the Category 2 generator owner and generator operator process and cores. We're also going to meet with another entity tomorrow to process a new Category 2 GO registration request, as well as a Category 2 GOP activation request for an existing registration. So we really appreciate the support that we're experiencing here in WECC and the other regions as well. Appreciate that. So next slide, please. The NERC Compliance Registry on NERC's website will be updated on August 1st to show, by August 1st, I should say, it may be prior to that, to show Category 1s as a GO or a GOP. Additionally, there's going to be a notification to let everybody know that change has occurred on the compliance registry. However, category 2 functions, the GO-GOP functions, they're not going to be publicly posted on that matrix until May 15th, 2026, which is the effective date of the category 2s as well as the effective compliance obligation date. Next slide. So here's where we get into talking about cores and next steps. So starting next month at the beginning of August, WECC will reach out to certain entities to initiate our first round of registering entities as category 2 GOs and GOPs. WECC is currently working through our determination evaluations, and we'll be processing applications for 40 assets per month. So something to keep in mind is that's not 40 entities, 40 assets. So there might be one entity that has 10 assets of those 40 assets that we plan to process in the month. Each month, NERC registration will contact a batch of category 2 entities with instructions on how to enter a new cores application or a category 2 activation request. I would also like to mention that WECC will be working with the other regions. We're going to do our best to coordinate our registration processing if you're in multiple regions. So if you have one NERC ID already registered and you plan to use that ID for your category 2s in multiple regions, we're going to try to process that batch together and have one NERC letter issued. However, we understand that, circumstances may be where this can't happen there. And if that's the case, then they'll be processed at different times. But we are going to do our best to streamline the process for everybody involved. After a region or regions accept that application in cores, NERC's going to review that application and go ahead and issue that NERC notification letter of category 2. And again, it's going to include a note that the effective date of compliance will be May 15, 2026. Next slide. So here I just kind of wanted to talk about resources. There's tons of resources out here, but the 3 that are on the next 2 slides, on this slide and the next one, really have a lot of valuable information and point you to where you need to go. So the first one here is a quick reference guide that's updated every month with the latest and greatest IBR information. So that is valuable to everybody with an IBR. The next resource that's shown on this slide, expanding your registration, that's kind of focused on existing registered entity and kind of informs you what you need to know as far as updating your registration. And the next slide is about joining the ERO enterprise. So this is more focused on someone that's brand new to the industry and to regions and NERC. So this one is very valuable as well, and it has a lot of good information. Next slide. So contact information, I cannot stress enough. Please use this slide. Contact us with any questions. One thing I would like to highlight is we really need to know, especially because there's going to be a gap in time from now until May. So if you're looking as a generator owner to change your ownership rights to an asset or change your generator operator, please have those conversations with us. We need to be informed so we make the right decisions as far as where to put you in the order that we reach out to you for batch registration. So please let us know if you have any information to share. And that is it. Are there any questions?
I do have a question for you, Abby. Will the WECC registration data received for the new GO-GOP folks be rolled into a line from WECC's database, or will each of these entities be required to input or work with NERC to get them into a line?
So it will eventually be in a line. That's a great question. As far as the functions that they're registered for, it's just going to take time as part of the rollout. Is that kind of where the question was going?
I think the question is sort of where the work will come from. Will we be providing that, or will the entity be providing that to get it into the system? Are we able to roll it over?
Course.
Yeah.
So as far as getting the information in course, we are going to reach out with you with instructions on how to get the information into course. So you will do the entry via the ERO portal. So you definitely need to have an ERO portal account, and we can walk you through the process if you do not currently have one.
I think that answers it. Thank you, Abby. Okay, that was the only question I have for you right now. We can go ahead and turn the time over to Angie.
Great, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I want to first acknowledge that the title of this slide is a little bit vague, and you may be wondering if it will apply to you or how it will affect your interactions with WECC. So I'm going to give a little bit of context, but this is about how WECC transmits information and files to registered entities as part of the Compliance Monitoring Enforcement Program, or the CMEP. So throughout our CMEP activities, a lot of information is shared between WECC and our entities. And examples include requests for information, responses, the analysis results, details regarding monitoring engagements, the findings, the conclusions, and the list goes on. So I'm just going to be sharing an update on how we'll be delivering some of this information to you. You can go to the next slide. As you may know, we transitioned to using Align starting back in 2021. Over the course of the next 4 years, we have been gradually moving away from our legacy tools, like Web CDMS and our electronic file transfer EFT server known as the WECC Secure Workspace. And earlier this month, we finished the Align implementation for the entities in British Columbia, which is a major milestone. It means that almost all of WECC's work can be done, the CMEP work can be done within Align. And Align was designed to be a single secure platform that included the functionality related to our CMEP work. Now, what is the CMEP work? Enforcement and mitigation, periodic data submittals, technical feasibility exceptions, self-certifications, audits and spot checks, inherent risk assessment, compliance oversight plans. So NERC has worked with the regions and with our registered entity partners to iteratively improve and enhance the functionality that's available within Align. So with some of the newest abilities, our team decided to step away from some of the current processes we have that relied on tools that were outside of Align. And we want to embrace what is possible within that software. So with that in mind, I want to assure you, WECC has always strived to provide you with CMEP information securely, efficiently. And the changes we are implementing will not affect what we provide, just how you receive it. So just kind of a spoiler alert, these changes are intentionally not significant. And now we can go to the next slide. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Align has been in place since 2021. Many of our CMEP business processes are already fully integrated within that system, and nothing's going to change with our enforcement and mitigation work, our periodic data submittals, the technical feasibility exceptions or self-certification processes, because they are already communicated to you using Align. Yay! But the CMEP activities that will be affected by the changes I'm going to talk about are the compliance oversight plans and the audits and spot checks work. This is not to say that we aren't using Align for those processes today. We are, and we have been using the system as designed as much as basically since those modules were released. But we have, however, identified a few ways that we can cut back on some of our actions that are external to it. These are kind of some opportunities that we've found to streamline, get better efficiency. And I'm not going to get deep into the weeds of how these current processes and activities work, but I will do a little high-level description of what happens and what will be changing. And with that, let's go to the next slide and start off with compliance oversight plans. WECC issues an IRA compliance oversight plan COP survey to the entity, which happens on a rolling basis. We gather any necessary information to assess the entity's inherent risks, as well as their operational performance. WECC provides the results of our risk analysis within the Compliance Oversight Plan report, which is published in Align. So here is where the change comes into play. There is not currently a way for WECC to share this report in its draft form with the entities in Align. We have been working around that by sending it over our secure workspace, and we are just no longer going to provide those draft copies prior to the finalization. You will still be given an opportunity to provide us your feedback on this report, and you can just notify WECC staff with any substantial changes or additional information that they need to know. As I said previously, data security is very important to us. We want to keep your information secure, so please do not send this confidential or sensitive information to us over email. Okay, we can move on the next slide to monitoring engagements. So when the time has come for WECC to send a notice of audit or a notice of spot check to an entity, we add all of the details surrounding that engagement in the Align module for the entity to view. You access this notice package and any relevant instructions within there. Any ensuing requests for information go through that system. The responses obviously come back to WECC through the secure evidence locker, but all of the information WECC is providing to the entity goes through Align. And much of that audit information is available within the ANP tab, so the Audit Notice Package tab. Okay, so what is going to change? We will be adding some important dates and deadline milestones that you can see there within the same screen. It used to be that you had to open our audit notice letter attachment in order to see those. We're going to be adding those within the system. And then another one is, per the rules of procedure, WECC has to provide a short work history of any person participating in the audit. So you will now be able to see those team biographies by clicking on the names that you can see listed on the ANP tab. Due to this functionality, we're no longer going to provide a separate PDF list of those accompanying the notice. I have screenshot, but we'll skip the screenshots until we finish this slide. The next one that is going to change are these scope revisions. So in the past, if WECC made changes to the standard requirements and scope for the audit, we would send an email, provide you with an updated list via our secure workspace. But a new update in Align allows us to indicate on the working papers tab whether a requirement has been removed from scope. We will obviously still communicate with you about any removal or changes along with making that update in Align, but we're no longer going to be emailing you through the workspace a separate notice of the scope revision. All right, and then that last change on there is that we're going to be creating sample versions of each of our engagement presentations. These are the pre-audit call, our opening presentation, as well as the closing presentation. We'll be posting these publicly on our website to allow everyone the chance to benefit from the general information that we share in those. Clearly, we won't be posting actual audit conclusions on the website, but all of the general slides we'll be sharing there. As a result, we no longer plan to share copies of those presentations during the engagement. Those were also sent over the workspace. Like I said, all the general information will be available, and anything specific to the audit will be able to be found in Align or in the Align report, the audit report, sorry, the audit report or spot check report that we provide at the conclusion of the engagement. So in the next couple of slides, I've put together a couple of screenshots so you can see how it looks in the system for the biography changes and the scope updates. Just as a little disclaimer, these screenshots were created in the training environment and are not from actual engagements. So if we go to the next slide, we can see when you open the A&P tab of a monitoring engagement, you'll be able to scroll down to a list of assigned resources. These are the audit participants, the team members or observers of the spot check. And you can see that the name is a hyperlink, and that can be clicked. It will open a pop-up window with the biography information there. So now we can move on to the next slide for the scope revision change. If you navigate to the Working Papers tab within the monitoring engagement, you can see a column CEA Assessment Status. There are the different statuses of the working papers. And if you'll note how SIP 4 requirement 5 is listed as removed from scope. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, here's a little summary of what this means for you as you work with WECC within the compliance oversight plan and audit spot check modules. So what's changing? We are no longer sending copies of the following files of our electronic file transfer server: audit and spot check presentations, scope revisions, and draft compliance oversight plans. These files have been provided as a courtesy in the past, but we want to stick to having Align being our system of record as much as possible and cut back on any of the actions that were taking place outside of it. What is not changing? We will still be holding live presentations during our engagements, just as we have in the past. You will have the presentation with your team leads, and you will be welcome to take screenshots if you want to be able to capture the information right away or differently, but we won't be providing those specific slides after that is over. And any audit conclusions will be shared that are shared within the closing presentation will continue to be made available in that audit report that we provide after the audit ends, or the spot check report after the spot check ends. And always, always welcome. We welcome you to contact WECC staff with any questions that you have or any need you have for clarification, your concerns. We're happy to work with you and make sure you understand. So I didn't include any dates for when these changes would occur. We have already stopped providing the draft compliance oversight plans, and we will be implementing the changes for the audits and spot checks throughout this month and into August. But most of you are not in current engagements, and so it's going to affect a very small portion of the population immediately, but we did want to let you know that these changes were taking place, and we have some more requests for additional enhancements coming through Align, and so this will likely not be the last you hear from me on how we are continuing to improve our shared experience with the Align platform. Thank you. Maylee, are there any questions?
We do have a couple for you. The first one is, how will draft COPs be provided to entities if not sent through the WECC Secure Workspace? Will we be able to see the draft in Align?
No, so right now there is no way to do that. We will just be providing you with the final version. And so if, like I said, if there are substantive changes, you'll be given that feedback form still so that you can provide your feedback to WECC if we need to make any changes.
Okay, thank you. And then, is there a copy of the IRA and COP survey templates on WECC's website?
Fahad, are you still on the call? Because you might know that. I am not sure if that is available.
Yes, so as needed, WECC will send out the survey questionnaire within I. However, that feature is being worked upon to better questions that we would like to answer. So it is still in works, utilized within a while.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you providing those answers. I don't have any other questions at this time, and we are nearing the end of our hour. Let's go ahead and go to our next slide. We encourage you to interact with our site and access those things. Also, we will be having our August call on August 21st, same time, 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you to all of our presenters for providing those updates today, and have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.